All right, guys. Hey, I'm excited to be here at Legacy. I'm honored to be here. Mike told me to come out with you guys. It is amazing to be here. What an event. What do you guys think so far? Awesome. Good deal. Awesome. All right, well, yeah, let's jump into it. I want to tell you a little bit about how I kind of built my team, how I built Precision. It was not all roses, right? And it still isn't roses. We're always working on things in our business constantly. We're always training. Well, let's jump into this. So small business is the backbone of America. So 52% of the nation's workforce, we're building something bigger than ourselves, hence the legacy, right? I mean, we're building it for our community. We're building opportunity. We're building families. We're building an industry together, raising the bar, we're raising the tide together. And we're bringing hope. I mean, right now, there's so much, just levels are high right now. People are scared. But guys, how good has it been this year, though?
Great.
It's been awesome, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are around a bunch of business owners right here. You guys want to capitalize on that. What's working for them? How are they winning? Focus on your wins as you guys go through these years. And we're going to talk about how I did it. So a little bit about me, us. For you guys that don't know, I had a rough start. I was raised in a trailer park with my mentally ill mom. She was mentally, can't even think of it off the top of my head, but she, would hear voices. So she was schizophrenic, right? And so she kept me out of school. She was always afraid that somebody was going to kill me. She was watching the news. And anyway, I didn't end up really going to school. And they always held me back. They literally said I had a 52 IQ. That's borderline mentally retarded. That's what they said I had. So I didn't think I had any hope, right? But growing up in the trailer park, we had no money. I literally was trading my pants for shoes. I would go to the thrift store. I had Jordans that were 3 times too big, and I was still playing ball, right? I had to do what I had to do. And so it was really rough, but I wound up in foster care. So I was going into 8th grade, and it was the 7th grade dance. And I'm all excited. We're in the middle of the trailer park at the tennis court, and we're playing basketball. And my friend's like, hey, I'm going to go down, get ready, put some cologne on. And I'm like, all right, man. And so right before he was left, all of a sudden police cars started coming in. Every road, in and out. I'm like, oh, crap, they're here for somebody. And I'm still playing ball. Well, of course, they park at the rec hall, and they walk over, and they're like, hey, Pat, yeah? Is your mom home? And I'll never forget it to this day. And I'm like, yeah. It's like, all right, well, you're going to need to come with me. So I went in the police car. We went all the way to the end of Holsapple Road where we used to drag race. Didn't even have my license or permit at that time. But anyway, we would go to the end of the road, and I got into a Cavalier, and I met with the social worker. And she's like, you're going into foster care. And I'm like, holy cow. So I'm like, first thing going through my head is, how am I going to jump out of the car? Where am I going to run? Because I knew the woods like the back of my hand. And so ended up going back, getting my stuff for a week, and going into an emergency foster home, and then going into a permanent foster home, at the age of, 13? Somewhere in there. And so I was never, didn't really have anything. I had a learning disability. I was in special ed. I always said I rode the short bus. That was me, But literally, I had teachers tell me, I'd never amount to anything. I was always the class clown. I didn't pay attention in school because nothing really excited me, right? And so, growing up, it was really, really hard. And I was told I'd never amount to anything, And then I ended up moving in with my best friend. My uncle ended up adopting me, and that's a crazy situation there. I ended up leaving and moving in with my best friend, and that's where I actually went to his church. I got saved. My wife she was the hot choir girl. So, so I did that and followed her to college. Wasn't going to go to college. I was going to be a mechanic. And so I was like, all right, I'll try this thing. My to-be wife, right, was going to college. I'm like, sweet, I'm going to follow her, right? And so I went to Bob Jones University. That's what got me to Greenville, South Carolina. And went there for a year, almost got kicked out. They have the demerit systems. So 150 demerits, you get kicked out. Yeah, I had 300. But they allowed me to stay. I finished it out, and we went back home. We got married and moved to Greenville. Just gonna love the weather. The people are awesome here. And so, I was 20 years old. So we just up in New York was, it's expensive to live, right? So I'm like, we need to start our family down in South Carolina. It's cheaper to live. So that's what we ended up doing. And there they are right there, my 4 kids. So moved to Greenville, South Carolina, but And that was, 2006. Yeah, 2006. So in 2009, so what is that, 6, 7, 8, 9? So 3 years in business. I was 20 years old, so now I'm 23. Didn't know anything about business. Sure, I could go wash somebody's house. I can make the customer happy. I always did that because I was always selling lawn care in the trailer park, doing whatever I needed to make ends meet. So I was really a people person. But I didn't know anything about business. And so that's why I want to tell you guys about kind of how I did and how I built the team and how I put systems in my business. How's that sound? Yeah. Good deal. All right, so at the end of 2009, I was broke, man. I was in the owner-operator rut. It was this. It was, doing sales one week, busy the next week, didn't do sales that week because I was working, and then it was like, shoot, I got no work. Guess what I'm doing? I'm out pounding doors, making things happen, right? And so I was in the owner-operator rut. I was stuck literally at $85,000. I'm like, this is for the birds, man. I'm like, I'm owning a job. What am I doing? And so I got these quotes, and my brother-in-law actually is an engineer for Norfolk Southern, the railroad. And he's like, dude, they got a job opening in Greenville. They're building bridges. It's $25 an hour starting, plus benefits. And I'm like, okay. So I start praying about it really hard. I'm like, God, what do you want me to do? And so my mom actually gave me this little plaque, and I have it in my office to this day, and it was the Winston Churchill quote, never, never give up. And so I got that. I was hearing it everywhere, and I went to my wife. I'm like, should I put this, should I put my application in here? What should I do? What are we doing? And I told her, I keep getting these sayings, never, never give up. And she's like, I am too. And I'm like, no way. And she's like, I think we need to do it. And so when business gets tough, like things happen, right? It was hard. The winters came. It was rice and beans. You know what I mean? Like, we know how it is in the wintertime. And so that's what it was. It was rice and beans. I'm like, how can we get through? I was doing $5,000 in January in that month, $5,000 total. And I'm like, this is rough. And so we ended up sticking it out. So I stuck it out and came to, and I say here, but it was actually Charleston. I couldn't afford the hotel. I heard that they were doing roundtables. They were doing business roundtables in Charleston. There was an event, and there was going to be a bunch of contractors talking about business and classes. And I'm like, what? And I'm on the forum, researching. I'm still researching. So ended up going to Charleston, went to one, slept in the van. We had an Astro van at the time with a water tank. My 2 kids' car seats were ratchet strapped to the 2 front seats. So, because I didn't have a bench seat, I had a water tank, you know what I mean? Like right in there with my pressure washer, I'd gravity feed that puppy, I'd take it out. I'm like, oh yeah, let's get it done. And I was making things happen. And so when I did that, I sat in the second row, and I'm like, I saw a picture. I was like a lot skinnier. Yeah, I was a lot skinnier. But I was like, dang, that was me. And so there was a guy in front of me. He's like, yeah, man. And he was telling the guy next to him, he's like, I sprayed this roof. I sprayed this stuff on there. It disappeared. And, dude, I walked away 3 hours later with a $1,000 check. And I remember this. Me and my wife looked at each other. We're like, no way. This guy's, yeah, right. You know what I mean? And then I started researching roof cleaning, and I'm like, holy cow. Because this is back when Sunbright Supply, I don't know if you guys know Sunbright Supply was in Georgia. Roof cleaning was a full contact sport. They had Roof Clean with a K, and it burns you. That stuff burns you. And I cleaned a couple roofs. I did with that stuff. Probably not good, but I did. And so ended up getting a 12-volt pump and doing my first $500 roof cleaning, and then from there on, we kind of started putting systems in. So let's talk about that. So how I did it. So I built a team around me. So don't be afraid to hire team members. This is the biggest thing. This was like the epiphany for me. I was reading an article, and I'm not into Scientology, but I was reading L. Ron Hubbard's magazine because he's really good at and known for building churches all across the world. And so it said, if you put the people in place, the money will come. And that is so true. Because a lot of times our mindset is backwards. We think that, well, how much is it going to cost me to hire this person in my company, right? How many people think that, right? Yeah, we all do. I don't anymore. I say, if I hire this person, what is he going to bring to the company, right? So if you get a technician, you get 2 technicians, is that really costing you money, or is that making you money? It's making you money because now you're not working in the business, you're working on the business. Right? Now you're just moving yourself or firing yourself out of a position. That's huge because then you become the full-time marketing guy. So you run out of that owner-operator rut. So you got to think about how you're going to do that, right? And that was the thing for me. So coaches are a big thing. You think about Michael Jordan. It's huge. How many coaches did Michael Jordan have?
3.
Yep, 3 coaches. So what, a lot of people are like, well, yeah, 1 coach. No, he had 3 coaches. Because you're getting different information. You need people to push you as an entrepreneur. We own our own, we own our own business, right? We have nobody pushing. We don't have a boss. So we could be like, dude, I'm going to stay home today, right? But if you have a coach, you got somebody pushing you that's already been up the mountain, that knows where, don't step there, that's going to get you there a little bit quicker. And I didn't realize that. I was kind of like bullhead. I'm like, I could do this on my own, And then I realized, I was like, why am I reinventing the wheel? Why, right? There's guys that already been there. And so that's when I started getting coaches. I started getting staff, and I started getting players on my team. And so this picture actually is our first company picture. And this was, probably 2009, I want to say, because we had Barbara. Barbara actually, she's right here. She actually turned into a bad apple. She was coming in early, and she was losing us jobs in the morning. She started getting angry, and she started gossiping between the sales team and the service team. And so I went in the office one day, and Tim Holyfield, my first territory manager, was out in the parking lot making phone calls in the truck. Like, Tim, what are you doing? Why don't you come inside and make the phone calls? He's like, no, man, Barbara's in there. I'm like, so? I'm like, she answers the phone, dude. Like, what's the problem? He's like, no, man, every time I go in there, she's chewing my ear off, and she's telling me about the technicians, and the technicians think I suck because I'm underbidding the jobs and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. So then I realized I had to kind of separate those departments, right? Because I had her answering the phone calls, but if she was getting the flack, she would transfer that to our customers through the phone. And so I actually ended up, we tried to fix the problem. It was three strikes, you're out type deal. And she ended up losing us like $1,000 job in the morning because she didn't call. It was raining. And then the customer called, and she's like, it's raining to the customer. And I'm like, my heart sunk. And I was like, no. So then I realized that I really needed to start doing more company development, meetings, and getting everybody together. And my technicians were like, oh, yeah, this is Pat's dad's company. I'm like, dude, my dad left when I was born. I was like, this is all blood, sweat, and tears. So what I did was I made a plaque right here with literally my wooden 8x5, I think it was like 5, no, it was 8x5 trailer with my logo hand-painted on the side of this thing. And so I have all the pictures of like what I was doing, and then they had obviously a lot better equipment. And so I had to show them that it was me and then cast the vision. I started casting the vision to the team, so everybody started rowing in the same direction. And it was really cool to see that because then they were on fire and they wanted to grow the company because they saw the potential. So here's AC Lockyer. He was actually my first mentor that kind of was doing it in Florida. Some of you guys probably heard of AC Lockyer. He was doing it in Florida, and I was like, man, I want to be like that. So I started picking his brain of how he developed systems and stuff. And so coaches are a necessary part of building and managing a team. There are no self-made champions out there. Entrepreneurs need coaches more than ever. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Good deal. So then there's staff. So staff takes care of the everyday functions so the team so that the coaches and team captains can lead. So staff supports the skilled players in the organization. So again, you guys are that skilled player. If you're out on a truck, you might be really good at sales or you might be really good at admin. You need to find people that you're not good at to put in place so you guys can grow. And here's some of our things that we did. Like, I'm really big on having them be a part of the team. So we have little headers in all our territory managers. I have their picture. I have their territory on there. And I want them to be part of the team. So here's their zip codes that they covered for sales. This was Steven Torado. And so they would have their picture up there. They felt like they were part of the team. I'm like, dude, Steven. And I would have chains, little chains on the wall. So whenever a lead came in, I could come in on Friday and it would be like a bar graph on the wall, and I knew who was kicking butt and who wasn't. And so it was really cool because if Steven was next to Tom, and Tom's kicking his butt, he's got leads all the way down, but Steven's got 4 leads, guess what Steven's going to do the next day? He's going to bust his ass and make it happen the next day. Competition is beautiful with sales team. But I didn't really start growing until I started putting salespeople in place. And I found out for every truck I wanted in my company, I would put a salesperson in that. because a salesperson can sell $7,500 to $10K in a week, and that's what my trucks could do in a week. So I started putting territory managers on place. I started developing my sales system so these guys can go out and basically sell our brand. Here was Kayla. She did awesome. She sold 10 grand in one day. She was so happy. It was amazing. And then Tim Holofield, he was my first territory manager. And again, he wasn't the greatest. He was good, really good with the customers. He was a technician, but he wasn't a salesperson. So he was like, well, I could do this really quick, and he was underbidding jobs. So then I found out I really needed to start approving every quote. Don't let them sell the job and then just put it in through dispatch and get it done, because these guys, that's their livelihood. Like, if they underbid it, they're still getting commission. They don't care if you don't make money at the end. You know, some, obviously, if you have a good company culture, they will, but you got to pass that on to them. So we started approving every tech or every ticket. And then here's Boyce. He was a lead tech. Then we had Carl. He was a lead tech. And again, I would race the truck. So out in the warehouse, I would do the same system. I would have them up as lead techs, and then I would race the trucks dollar per hour from when they got to the job and when they got out of the job. We wanted to be, and this was in 2010 area, we wanted to be at $200 an hour. So we would just race the trucks, and whoever was at higher dollar an hour that week, they would get a bonus. And I would hand them $100 cash money. And they're like, dude, this is awesome. So players put points on the board for the team. Players consist of two groups in a service business: sales and service. So my first 3 hires, this was key. This picture right here, I literally had 3 vehicles. I had the mold remediation truck, I had the soft washing truck, and then I had a trailer that I would do hot water pressure washing. And I literally would jump in the mold remediation truck and go do jobs. And so what happened was I was doing whatever I could to pay the bills in the beginning. But that is the wrong mind of thinking, because if you have one thing and you really set your mind to that one thing, that's when you create your niche, and then you really start scaling that niche. And I didn't realize that until I got a coach. I was just like, whatever pays the bills. I'm like, dude, I'm going to do a $4,000 mold remediation job this week. Awesome. And then I didn't have any soft washing jobs, so it was filling the schedule. But in reality, when I really started, I sold the mold remediation truck. I sold another truck, and I solely had that. Actually, that was my first truck, the 1500, and that was my soft wash truck. And then I started booking that up with $7,500 a week. And that's when we started really getting the model and scaling. So you want to promote yourself out of a job. So get a great assistant tech. And your assistant tech really needs to be your lead tech. So when you hire that assistant tech to help you, you want him to be your lead tech, because assistant techs, you could put a good lead tech with a shoddy assistant tech and still get the jobs done, right? So your assistant tech doesn't have to be the cream of the crop. But your first assistant, you want to know in your mind that that's going to be your lead tech that's going to replace you. So think about that so you can get off the truck. And then we had Barbara. So she was really, really good in the very beginning, because I didn't have anybody answering the phone. I was doing it. I was up on the roof, I have crazy stories I could tell you guys about employees and customers, but literally up on a roof, cleaning a roof, and she calls me, and she's like, your guy's up on the roof, and he's banging. I think he just broke something. And I'm like, really? I'm like, no way. And I'm up on the roof. And I'm like, well, come outside, and we'll take a look. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm up on the roof. And she's like, because she thought I looked like, a franchise. So she didn't know the owner was up on the roof. And then so she was like making these things up. And I was like, oh, so that kind of set precedence, because as you get employees, customers, I say buyers are liars, but they don't know sometimes. They don't walk around the house, right? And then they're like, you did this, you did that. So then we had to start covering our butt with checklists, taking pictures of every side of the house. We would have a pre-inspection sheet that we would do for every house. So when we got there, we would say, is the siding faded? Is it oxidized? Is there paint damage? And we would mark all that off, and we'd say, hey, Mrs. Smith, we just did a free evaluation of your home. By the way, it's free with the quote. I noticed you had some damage on this side and this side, because they don't walk around their home all the time. Or you may get somebody that actually they own the home and they're in New York, but the home is here, right? So we started doing that to cover our butt, because obviously you start paying for $500 house repairs, that's going to end pretty quick. So that's what we ended up doing. And then your office support person. When we put an office girl in the office, and I'm not talking about Jill's office, I'm talking about putting a physical body in an office that answers the phone, we grew 30% just by putting an office girl in the office, because it freed me up now to do more sales and get out in the field and actually coach my guys and do quality control, making sure they're putting out the check it out flyers, going to the job site and actually knocking on the neighbors' doors and getting more jobs. So we grew 30% just by putting her in place. Then she was sales support. So when I took Tim and I said, dude, I need help doing sales. So we took him off, and it was easier to take him off a truck and make him a territory manager because I could easily get a technician. Your first salesperson is the hardest because you have to paint the picture. You guys got to look like the next best thing. So when you see my office, it looks a lot different than that now. We got bigger TVs. When you walk in, you're like, what do you do here? I literally, when we started hiring salespeople, I called the pest control guy. I called Orkin. I called, you name it. I was calling everybody to get estimates. Why do you think I did that?
Build value in your company.
I wanted to find out how good a salesperson was coming to my shop because I was poaching them. I said, hey, by the way, hey, come here real quick. Let me show you my marketing/business calendar. I have an 8-foot by 4-foot marketing/business calendar that shows like how much we do each month. So I walk them through the office and they're like, what do you do here? I'm like, oh yeah, you do sales? How much you making? Really? I said, you probably make some more money here. I said, look, right over here, this is when we did $200,000 in this month. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, dude. And then literally they would come over, fill out an application, and I had a couple of those guys. So it was really cool to do that because you get top talent, you know what I mean, when you start doing that. But you got to look the part. And it starts with your uniforms, and I see what you guys are doing already. You're doing the social media thing. William's crushing it, by the way, bro, with the social media. You guys got to look like, you're the biggest, baddest thing in your area because then that's going to attract those people that are going to come into your company. I don't run ads anymore. For salespeople, they come to me. I get business owners. I got Sam Brooks. He just retired, but he owned the largest roofing company in Greenville, Brooks Roofing. He was a territory manager for me, selling $20,000 a week, crushing it, and he knew everybody. You know what I mean? I barely had to train him because he already was doing sales for 20 years. So that's what we look for. You want to find that avatar for the people you want in your company. Then I was freed up to do mostly sales and build the business. I was the visionary. I saw where I wanted to go, but I had to cast the vision to the team and get them excited to go where we wanted to go. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of hiccups along the way. I hired the wrong people. Back in the day, I was known for hiring like felons because it was like, hey, you're breathing? Great, come with me. We need to work. You know what I mean? And so you have to do that to a point. And then we got asked to seal. Then we did background checks. Then I started getting qualified people and really building the image. Now when we show up, they're like, dang, you must be expensive. Well, yeah. We show up in a wrapped car, wrapped shirt. Our clipboard's wrapped. Like our presentation folder's wrapped. You name it, that's what we got. We look like an HVAC company showing up, But that's what you want to do. So who are we selling to? So we are consistently selling our businesses to 2 groups. Who do you think it is?
Residential and commercial?
Close. So it is potential customers. So you're right on that. And then potential employees. We're always selling to those 2 groups. Customers and employees. Because without employees, it's just you, right? And you can only do so much because then you become the bottleneck. So that's when you start hiring. So we try so hard to look great for customers. Why not look good for employees? Bringing them in. There's a book called The Dream Manager. And as you get these guys in here, if you read the book The Dream Manager, you want to help them accomplish their dreams, right? Their aspirations. Awesome, awesome book. We do that with our team. Like one of our guys wants to buy a house. That's his goal, is to buy a house. So how do I help him? I help him manage his money, stuff like that you can do. And then this guy's are like, dude, I'm going to go to war. Like my team, they'll go to war for me. I'm like, dude, COVID-19 just hit. Guess what? We're going to war, and we did. And so that's what it's all about, and you got to cast the vision in those times. So you have to look the part. And again, this is what my office looked like. We had the dispatch boards up here. We had the screens. It looked like the Death Ship, whatever. You guys can take a picture of this. So we would have our giant sales board on there. We would fill in our sales. We had the chains on there. Kayla actually had the best closing ratio right there. And it was cool because she actually had less tickets, but she had higher tickets. So we started tracking, too, bigger ticket jobs. Like she had that $10,000 sales on 2 of those quotes for one guy. But she outdid Jody Stedman. Jody Stedman He was a lieutenant colonel. He was stuck on, dude, I'm going to sell $450 house washes all day long. I was like, Jody. And he tracked. He was in the, he's in the military. I think it was the Army. And so he was tracking everything. He came to me one day. He's like, Pat, I'm only making like $15 an hour. I'm like, dude, you're only selling $450 tickets. What do you want me to do? And so we really butted heads, and we were outside the front of the shop, and I'm like, this is what you need to do. You got to follow the system, because he wasn't following the system. He was doing what the customer wanted him to do. Nope, just quote this, and he was just quoting what they wanted. Homeowners don't know what they want. You guys are the experts. When you get to a house like this, I'm quoting the roof, the gutters, the whole exterior, the windows, every patio you see, all this glass, I'm quoting everything. The patios. If they call me for gutter cleaning, I'm quoting everything. The metal roof, you name it. I'm going to have probably a freaking $10,000 ticket here, right? Because I want to quote everything. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they need. They might only have the budget to do half of that. But guess what? It went from a $400 gutter clean out to a $4,000, this is what I think I need, right? So now you're not leaving money on the table. And then next year you might get everything, right? So you got to think about those things. But you have to track your wins. And so that's what happened with Jody. Jody was quoting just the minimum. He was doing A and B. He wasn't doing package C. And so Americans love choice. How many in here are doing package pricing? Okay, good, good. So if you're not, I highly recommend it. A is what they call for. B is what I think as a professional I would do on your home. And then C is everything, whether it's clean or dirty. We clean things. I can't tell you how many clean roofs I've cleaned. They're like, dude, you clean that? Yeah, they want the 5-year warranty. I'll clean a clean roof and give you a 5-year warranty, because when it gets dirty, it's not going to cost me anything to clean it, right? So you got to think about those things. And then the 5-year warranty also brings them back to me, because they keep that in their file, and then that's a customer for life. I'm going to give you guys a little nugget. You ever hear of, you have a potential customer, the potential customer turns into a client, right? So a customer is a one-time cleaning. A client is somebody that used you again. And then you have a, so potential customer, client, and then you want to turn them into an agent. And when I say agent, you want them to sell for you. If you can turn your customers into salespeople, and we started doing this, we actually have cards that say, like, Mrs. Smith is Precision Pro Wash agent. And so if she gets us 10 jobs in a year, her house is completely free. Because they just got me $10,000 in business. She's basically working to pay her house off, and she'll never have to pay for her house cleaning again. So think about that. Little nugget right there. All right, so here's out in the shop. Again, my shop looks totally different than this, but back in the day, I would have my lead techs right here. This is when we were running 3 trucks, and I would race the 3 trucks, $1 per hour. And we literally had a roadmap. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I got a question about that last part. So I tried doing that in my company, actually, with the referral type program, right?
Yeah.
How do you track that?
So in your CRM, we would turn them into an agent, or you could do like a commercial client,
How do
and
you
then
track the jobs that they bring to you? Do they have to let you know that they sold a job, or what?
so either the person has to say, hey, Mrs. Smith referred me to you, and it has to be tracked, and then my office girl, all the calls go through the office. But if they call in and she didn't tell her that it was us, we can't track it. So usually they have to tell us, or we give them business cards. Business cards are how much for $250? They're like 30, not even 30 bucks. No, they're like 19 bucks. You send those business cards to them, have their name on there, so then when she refers somebody, they turn that in. Hey, Susie referred me, and then boom, it goes on her account in our CRM. But that's the only way to track it. So if somebody else calls in, you can't, right?
What
So
CRM is
I'm using Service Titan, but Service Monster will do it. I mean, you could set them up in there as that client and then create tickets under there too if you wanted to, underneath that client.
Java do that?
You'd have to look at,
Tag? Yeah, you can
Can you?
yeah, you can tag, yeah. So you could do it, yeah. Just figure out how you can tag those in there and keep that under her name so you know. But that was big, you know. And then we ran into our office. We started getting so many calls. Like in January, remember I was telling you about January? Oh, I brought my clip flyers. They're in the van. Well, anyway, so we would only do $5,000 in January, right? Well, I started going out and doing rock flyers back when they were rock flyers, and I was putting out 1,000 of those by myself in the morning. I called it the mail route before anybody got up so nobody would see me, because then You know, I didn't want them to see me. But anyway, I'm throwing it out the window. We ended up doing $15,000 that month in 2010, and we ended up doubling and tripling our company in the next 2 years off of clip flyers, yard signs, and then a little bit of EDDM, and then Google AdWords. Those were our biggest things. If you look at any of my reports that we run, clip flyers, we get 22 to 30 leads a week from clip flyers. So now some of you guys are down here, me and Mike were talking about it, you can't. You got to replicate that though. So you got to replicate that with EDDM or with, you know, personal handwritten letters, but you have to don't. So I see a lot of guys, they're thinking too small. They're like, I'm going to go put out 5,000. And they're like, dude, we're going to be so busy. No. Put out minimum 10,000 and then start getting that to 30,000. How do you do that? You got to reverse engineer that. Yes, sir.
How many times a month do you hit your developments?
So we try to do it every 2 to 3 months, but sometimes it happens a little bit quicker than that, depending on if we get a new territory manager in that territory. So we have protected territories for each manager. If I get a new one, they go and blanket everything. So, yeah.
Have you ever gotten a lot of complaints about clip flyers?
Yes, yeah, we sure do. So that's the built-in tracking for them. So if I get a complaint, guess what? They're going out. I'm like, awesome, thanks, Mrs. Smith. Boom. You know, you turn it around. Look, I'm not on the welfare line trying to get your tax money. You know, we're out there providing for families. Now, we get the good outweighs the bad. So we'll get, right now, because, you know, tensions are high right now, we're probably getting, I would say, on average, one a week. One complaint a week. But the cool thing is when they call, guess who it is? It's the HOA. Oh, I'm really sorry. Is there another way to market you? Do you guys have a neighborhood newsletter? Do you have a Facebook, a community Facebook? Well, yeah. Well, great. I don't have to flyer your neighborhood again. Let me get on there. How do I do that? Always get the decision maker every time. You just got to turn it around. Make the bad into good. You know, they're like, I get complaints. So what? Turn them around. You know, I'm like, that's my built-in tracking system. If my guys aren't throwing flyers, guess what they're not doing? Getting leads. That means there's no money coming in, you know? So you just got to get a little bit of thick skin. In the beginning, don't get me wrong, it's scary. You're like, I'm going to get a 1-star review, you know, whatever.
Have you gotten bad reviews from it?
Yeah, I got, like, go look at my reviews right now. I got 3, and then they get buried by good reviews. You know what I mean? It happens. People are like, dude, I see these guys are coming. I would go do a quote, and the guy's like, yeah, I looked at your reviews. He's like, you got a couple 1 stars. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I saw they were from your flyers. I'm like, yeah, some people just don't like them. He's like, dude, I loved it. The people who like it are going to call. And then the people who don't like it are eventually going to call because they're going to have so many dang flyers in their front yard, they're going to call me. Love you. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. So you gotta look the part, you know, and that's the big thing was like, I literally was buffing the floors. Like, dude, why are you buffing the floors? I'm like, I want my office to look good. You know what I mean? Like, we went in and we did the floors. The thing, Mike, you saw, we went in and I spent like 10 grand on just doing the floors in with the, I don't even know what it's called, but it's got the coating on there. You know what I mean? Because I want to look the part. I want my guys to come in. If I know my team is giving me, you know, 95% in the shop, like sweeping it, and they're really working, 95%. If they're giving me 95% in the shop, I really like 100 or 110%, but reality is they're going to give you about 95%. If they give you 95% in your shop, taking out the trash, cleaning your trucks, you know, keeping your establishment clean, they're going to be doing about, you know, 87%, 90% out in the field. If they're giving you 80% at the shop, they're only giving you 75% out in the field. That'll tell you what the quality of work is. Yes, sir.
How do you monitor your workers, like when they go out, like on the quality of work that they're doing? Like, how do you make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing?
So we have a Jason mask, and we'll wear the Jason mask, and we will job stalk. No joke. Me, my wife, my ops manager, my sales reps, we all job stalk. So we literally will be parked over there. I'm going to walk through the woods, and I'm going to have binoculars making sure that they're not smoking and they're doing their dang job, right? And they know. Any one of my guys, we were doing a HOA complex. And so one of my technicians, like, girlfriend's brother was living there, and they took a picture of my truck. Well, somehow it got back to me, and I sent it to the guy that was there, and I said, I'm always watching, ... And I do that, like, you know, back in the day, I used to do it every week. Because I would always see him, or I would have, you know, competitors like, dude, I just saw your truck over there. I'm like, dude, snap a picture for me. He's like, all right. And And I would send it to the guy, hey, always watching. And they're like, you know, and it's funny because we were doing BMW's roof right on 85. We were doing the big horseshoe. I literally went across the interstate, parked at one of the facilities, and I had binoculars, and I'm watching the guy. I'm like, and I would go on Voxer, and I'd be like, kick, kick. I'm like, nice job, man, wearing your harness. And he would just be like, where's he at? Where's he at? So that you got to have that accountability in your company, you know. And if you're not going to be that, like I'm not that anymore. You know what I mean? I'm literally on a Zoom meeting one hour a week now. So that's my ops manager. He'll send me in a report and say, hey, I job stocked 5 jobs this week. Awesome, man. Everybody looked good, you know. We do the check it out flyers around the job. We make sure those are getting out. Now, can we have an eye on every crew? No. But if you start getting a rash of bad stuff, guess what you're doing? I'm going to be right up that guy's butt, right? And he knows it. He knows it. And we track it. So my office girl will call back the day after every job, and we do a quality check. She has a checklist, and we have a quality score. So we always ask the customer, hey, out of a score of 1 to 10, how likely are you to refer our company to a friend or family? That's our quality score. We have to be at 92% or higher, or else I'm going to fire everybody on my team. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reality of it. Yes, sir.
And like for like what do you do with your employees that like mess up something or like miss a spot? Do you send them out and like do you still pay them or like?
Great question. So you technically have to, by law, still pay them. So we did a base pay plus a production bonus. If they got too many touch-ups, they would lose their production bonus. It would pay because that's gas, that's time, and they would do it on their time, not my time. Monday through Friday is my time. We got to make this X amount for production, and you get it done. If you have touch-ups, you're doing it on your time on Saturday morning, and you're going to make sure that customer's right. We also did, if they didn't do it, we would call bounty because we would have multiple trucks running. So if this guy didn't get it done before Friday, it was before Friday, because we wanted to do the touch-ups during the week so it would get done quicker. And so instead of doing it on Saturday, we said, okay, between Monday and Friday, if you don't get it done on Friday, if it's not done, another technician could say, I'm calling bounty on that touch-up, I want $100. It comes out of that guy's paycheck. Yep. And then whenever we had those chains on the walls, whenever they got a touch-up, it would go on that guy's chain for that crew. And you would hear on Monday, like, oh, you'd hear out in the warehouse, oh, Johnny's got a touch-up. And then they would rag on each other. They'd be like, oh, I'm going to get that bounty on you. And he's like, I'm going to go get that touch-up done. Then the customer's taken care of. So you make a game out of it. Just, have everybody play the game. All right, so recruiting. How many in here loves recruiting? No hands up. Oh, man. No, it's a pain in the butt. It really is. No, recruiting is a pain in the butt, right? So there's a couple things out there. Blue Skies has some recruiting things that you can do, like $200, and they'll do the recruiting for you. But you got to get the word out. The big thing is letting them know that you are hiring, right? You got to be attractive. You got to present your package. Look at what your other guys are doing in the market. What are they paying their guys, right? How much can you pay your guys? You got to figure that stuff out, but you have to create a package and be ready to negotiate. Because guess what? Like my finance director, I don't know how we got him, but we got him, right? He was making $200,000 a year. I'm like, dude, I got $50,000 and maybe I can pay you. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, the culture, right? Employees aren't all about the money. They're about time, family, culture, that kind of stuff. Benefits. I get all my guys' haircuts. We go out, like we went jet skiing today. I take all my team out and go jet skiing, right? I do fun things. We go to go-karts. We do axe throwing. Like we do picnics. We had a big party at my house. We want to do fun things that it's not just about the money because eventually we'll get there. But guess what? Right now I can't, right? Because on my P&L I only got a certain amount of percentage, or else it comes out of my pay, right? And sometimes it's just not there. So you got to work with what you have. So if you're like, shoot, what can we do? How can I get this person? How can I get a sales guy? Because sales guys are like, dude, I want to make $100,000 this year. I'm like, you ain't going to do that here. You know what I mean? Like maybe in 3 years if you build your clientele up, but, they're like, nah. You know what I mean? So how do you get those guys in there that want to work for it, right? You got to get creative, okay? So you got to be ready to negotiate a little bit. Have several players in consideration. You know what I mean? Like don't just jump on the one because that one might talk the talk. I always do this with all my managers. They're like, how do you do in the interview? Oh, dude, he's awesome. He's going to be a rock star. I'm like, did you do the hands-on training? No, dude, he's going to rock it. He's going to rock it. Guess what? He quits in a week. I'm like, what'd I tell you? He's like, you're right. So we do a hands-on skills assessment with every hire we do. We're like, great, you really like the job? Tell me about it. And we have a whole questionnaire. And then we're like, all right, great. Oh, you got nice clothes on? That's okay. Come on, me. We'll go out to the work truck. I'm like, yeah, take the ladder out, put it up on the building, go up the ladder. Because when he gets halfway up the ladder, and the ladder's like, ding, 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 ding. I'm like, all right, come on down. Next. Right? Like, I don't have time to play around. Because you only have a certain amount of time in a year. And you guys got to reverse engineer it. So say you want to do $100,000 next year. How do you do that? What is your goal per month? What is your goal per week? And then per day? And then reverse engineer the year. You know what I mean? So that's what we did. I was like, dude, I want to do $2 million. How do we do it? We reverse engineer. We need this amount of employees, this amount of trucks, and then you build it. So you got to have the plan, but you got to hire up too. You know what I mean? Don't think that, well, nobody grows up and wants to be a roof cleaner. No. Dude, you guys are the meanest, greenest soft washing company in your area. Like, flaunt that, right? Make it look like the part. And then hire up. Find people that are better than you. I'm not good at like 90% of my company. I'm just a visionary. I'm like, dude, let's go. And I'll get it started, and then I'm like, all right, have a good day. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be in the, you know what I mean? I don't do that. The QuickBooks stuff, just show me the numbers. But I did have to do that to a point, right? And you got to do the hard stuff. You got to have the Goya. You got to get off your A, right? But you got to do that stuff but you got to hire up. So find people that are better than you. If you're a technician right now, find somebody that's going to clean that thing better than you, right? Because you're better at something else. It might be sales, it might be admin, it might be, the visionary part, but find that. And then player positions. All right, so this is a big difference between kill the man with a football and football, right? So you got to have, in your company, you got to have job descriptions. And this is a big thing too, because if you hire somebody, great, but what's your expectations for that team member, right? What has he got to follow? So you can field 11 players either way, right? So you can go hire all these people. You don't have a job description, but you're like, dude, clean this, spray this bleach on there, let's get this fence done, just get her done, right? You can field 11 players, but it's going to be a headache, right? You can say, you're breathing? Great, let's go. But if you don't have the hiring process or the job descriptions, they don't know what you expect, and then it's going to blow up in your face. So like I had a model, well, we still have the model, right? But I didn't go and I didn't buy 8 trucks because I had the model. No, I grew it small and steady, because if I grew really fast, like I'm a visionary. I'm like, dude, we have the thing, just let's go buy the trucks, let's get it done. But what happened was I would have fell flat on my face because there's a lot more I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? So when you start doing this, you're going to learn throughout, and you got to work on you. And I didn't realize that in the beginning. I was like, I got to change me. I got to change my mindset. I got to learn a lot. I was never a business owner. I was always an employee. I was never a manager. And now all of a sudden, we have 25 employees, and I'm like, holy cow, I'm learning a lot. Like I'm learning management books. I'm reading leadership books and stuff. I'm always trying to grow me. Because look, if you don't learn something every day, what are you doing, right? So that's why you guys are here, right? So this is awesome. But player positions, which is job descriptions that we talked about. And we got a little surprise for you at the end. Mike's going to drop some bombs for you right there. All right, so specific roles to play, right? So we have quarterbacks, we got running backs, we got linemen, tight ends, wide receivers, special teams. That's right. We got if I go anywhere, I'm taking you with me, man. That's what I'm saying. That's right. But you got team captains. So everyone on your team needs job descriptions. All these guys have job descriptions, right? You set him in, he knows exactly which way to run. He knows what he's expected of him, right? So again, you need that in your company. You got to have, and this is a system, right? It starts with job descriptions. All right, so here's some of the job descriptions that I actually got. So residential salesperson, we got truck captain, we got service manager, we got customer care representative, residential salesperson, residential sales manager. I mean, these are all, I have job descriptions for $1 million company. And so we had to put those things in place. Oh no! It went over, I didn't move it to the back. Darn it. I don't know if I can move that. So I pasted that in there because I wanted to show you that, but now we can't see the slide. So we'll just say psych. No, but it starts with strength training too, and that's what I was telling you about the meetings, right? You got to bring those guys in because as we grew and we were at like 10 employees, I was like, guys, what's the biggest thing that we're failing at? And it was communication. Everybody said, they're like, communication. So we actually do Flock. Have you guys heard of Flock? So I have this app, and it's basically communication. It's called Flock, and I'll show you guys. You guys can pass it around a little bit. But it's called Flock. It's free. And so we actually create channels on here. So I have my Sales Boost team. Every time they sell a job, look, sold, Alan, 1647, 0 down, package C. My man, right? We have the pictures in there of the job he sold. Sold, $1,177. And every time they close a deal, they post the pictures and they post that they sold it. Sold, $1,177. Sold, $575. We have some like sold, $4,470. So anyway, they post that in there so I can see that. You know what I mean? Like sold, $6,000. So in the sales team, we're like, dude, you pump them up. You're like, dude, go get it, go get it. And then they're like, go get another one. You know what I mean? Because you know when you sell a job, what happens? You're like, oh man, you know what I mean? Like, let's bring another one, right? So then we pump them up on the chat. And so everybody in the sales team sees that and they're like, and the guys that didn't just sell a job, guess what they're doing? They're like, dang, man, he's getting all the praise. What is he going to do? He's going to go sell a job, right? So I have that, and then we actually created each truck. So we have, let's see, so truck 15, truck 3, truck 7, truck 5, and so every time they're done with a job, they get a picture with the customer, and they're like, happy customer, this is what we did, you know what I mean, got a $100 tip, and so they're just boom, like the chats are living it up because that, again, is just feeding the beast, you know what I mean? Like the office is like, great job, guys, they're excited. So it's a free app, it's called Flock, great communication key right there, but again, it's strength training. So this was when we actually started the Charlotte branch, and you know, I'm talking to an awesome group of people right here. And I'm going to be honest with you. You do not have to get out in the field and be a technician. What do you guys think about that? Right? Some of you are like, Pat, shut the heck up. What are you talking about? I got to learn the business, right? So, for instance, last year we started our Asheville branch. Ben Stuck was our territory manager for one season. Really bright guy. He said, you know, he came on, I'm like, Ben, he was just crushing it in sales. I'm like, dude, you need to own your own branch. He's like, I would love to. An older guy, and he's like, look, I started another he had a bed and breakfast business. It didn't work, you know, and he's like, I'm kind of scared. I'm like, dude, we got the system. Let's do it. He's like, all right, let's do it. Guess what he did his first year? Didn't clean a thing. What do you think he did his first year? 200? 360? 300,000. 300,000 his first year. He's on track. Second year in COVID, about to do $500,000. Yes. So when I'm saying that, it's the mindset. Like I'm getting goosebumps right now. Because I didn't know this. I'm like, dude, I got to get out. I got to learn this stuff. I got to build it. You get the system. You get the Chick-fil-A model, right? And then you put the people in place, and what happens? Well, the money will come, right? You put the people in place and the money will come. But you got to do these little things first. You got to build the model. You got to build the system, right? All my skids are 12-volt pumps. They all look alike. I don't know if you guys follow me at all. Every truck is color-coded, right? Even the number on the side of the truck is the color of the truck. Everything in the cab, everything is labeled. So if I bring 3 or 4 trucks out to a job site, they're not like, this is my one, this is my one. You don't have guys stealing stuff out of trucks and all this stuff, right? You got to keep order. So I was taught your income depends on how many people you can manage. And that is true and true today, okay? So building the team. All right, so skills development is very, very important. In-house training. You know, certifications. There's a lot of free certifications. There's classes you can go to. Events. Make your own classes. I was talking to somebody who was like, do you make a PowerPoint for that? So on Wednesdays, we do lead tech leadership. We call it LTL. We're like, all right, guys, just the lead techs come into the office on Wednesdays. The assistant techs go out and wash the trucks, and we want them to work their way up. We were talking about Chick-fil-A earlier. We hire within. And so our managers, so this is a little step back, but our managers aren't, because sometimes our technicians are not managers. They have to have a certain skill set. So my managers are from the outside, but we've hired from within. So my technician, I want assistant tech to move up to a lead tech, right? We have tier 1, 2, and 3 levels in our company, and we actually pay off of those 3 tiers. So we want them to move in, and eventually I want them to own their own branch. That's what I want to see these guys do, is move throughout, and then I want to set them up somewhere that they can prosper, right? They're only there for a time. I want them to come into my company, and I want them to leave better than they showed up, right? And that might be personally, might be business-wise, might be family-wise, might be, pay-wise, whatever it is. I want them to move out better. And then you have apprenticeships, go work with another company. You know what I mean? If you got somebody that you're like, dude, I want to be like that guy, you'll be surprised. Tommy Mello's like, dude, come to my shop whenever you want. I'm like, yeah, I want to be $30 million. Psych, I don't want to do that. But I'm like, I'll come check it out though, right? So you can do that stuff. And then develop your players within. How do you do that? There's a lot of programs that you can do, like TEDx Talks. You can have them read books, do a book report, bonus them on a book report, read Traction, huge book. What's the other one? The leadership one. But there's a bunch of different books, right, that you can read and you can get that. But it starts with team meetings, guys. So you must have regular team meetings. Who are we playing next, right? What is the plan of attack? What are our goals? We have a stalker wall. You guys are like, dude, Pat, you're really starting to scare me, dude. So we literally have a whiteboard that we have all the hotels that I want to clean on the wall, and I say my sales team, hey guys, these are the 10 we're going after this week. At least close 3 of them, right? And they're like, all right, let's do it. We want to know who we're playing next. I have 4 niches. We do TPO roofs, we do apartment complexes, residential, and then we do hospitality. Those are my 4 niches that we crush because we set up goals. How are we going to score? Cast your vision. You kind of get the theme, right? Cast your vision. You guys are the visionaries. You know where you want to go. You see where your company is. We have it all inside. You guys know what you need to do. You just need Mike to kick you in the butt to do it, right? Let's go. But that's it. And then fun competition. So again, this is our Charlotte branch. So humans are driven on competition. You got to set goals. You got to define tasks. Reward achievers. So here's Jody Stebbin getting $50. He was getting $50 every 2 days. After we had that nice powwow in the front parking lot, dude, he started crushing it. $2,000 ticket, $3,000 ticket, left and right. He started selling $15,000 a week. He's like, dude, this is where it's at. I was paying him like $2,500 paychecks every week. He was loving it. But it takes that. You got to pick an opponent. An army without an enemy stands in apathy, unprepared. Right? So are you guys being proactive or are you being reactive right now? Right? Let's start being proactive. And then keeping score. So teams keep score. You need a scoreboard. You need company reports, sales boards, production boards, contests and quotas. And without a target, everyone looks like a marksman. Got to have that target. How we doing on time? Everybody's hungry. I can feel it.
Please keep telling me.
Okay. He's like, please keep talking. Yes, sir.
What do you mean by picking an opponent?
So pick an opponent. Who are you going after? Are you going after HOAs, apartment complexes? Who do you want to close? Big tickets, residential. So like I have my 4 niches, right? Those are my opponents. I want to get in there and execute and get my goals that I need to get. All right, so your employees need to know you are watching. What we talked about earlier. You think my guys know that I'm watching? Yeah. They know, right? So employees need to know their responsibilities. They need to know what you expect. Employees need to know the rules. And then right here. The right way or the wrong way, right? As an owner, you cannot hold someone accountable to the rules without having rules. I see a lot of guys, they put a system in place, and then what happens is they're like, well, I'm the owner, I'm going to cut this corner, I'm not going to do that. Right? You guys are the leaders in your company. Look at this guy, a little entrepreneur. Goodness. That's my boy. No. but you got to have those rules, right? So locks are for keeping the honest, right? We've all heard that. So we had the 10 Commandments to know what sin was, right? They got to know what the rules of the game are. You know, do they pass go? Do they go to jail? Like, you know what I'm saying? So make that game, make it fun, so you guys will play. Then you got to have compassion. So be a compassionate leader to build a team. Don't be that hard boss. I've seen a lot of guys do that. They're like, what the F are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, get the... And I'm like, whoa, dude. I'm like, well, let's take it down 10 notches. Hold on. Let's find out what the real source is, right? We got to be problem solvers. So a lot of times it's like, dude, I'm going to file my whole team because we got plant damage and we got this going on. No, hold on. You know, let's figure out what's going on, right? So let's get to the root of the problem. And you don't want to be that hard boss. You got to be a compassionate leader to build a team. Now, you know, do we hire people? Do we fire them and hire them back? No, you don't want to do that, right? But you got to have the compassion, you know, for your team and let them know. Like I said, that book, right? You want to help them get their dreams accomplished as well, because we're building something together. All right, so be equitable and firm. This was hard for me because I'm like the nice guy. So like when people are like, dude, I don't have any money, I'm like, oh shoot, all right, well here's $20. Don't ever do that, because then they're like, hey, I need $50. Hey, I need this. You know, we have a company, we run our company on policy now, not feelings. So in the beginning, you know, it's okay. It's okay to do that in the beginning because you're building it, right? And those guys might stick with you, they may not. But eventually you want to run your company on policy, not feelings. That was really big for me because I'm the nice guy. They're like, dude, let's just ask Pat. He'll say, yeah, you know what I mean? Or I got to get off. I'm like, oh, why do you got to get off? Well, I got this going on. All right, you know what I mean? You can't do that. You got to run your company on policy. So there needs to be a balance between discipline and praise. So this was, again, that was hard for me. But you got to do it. And there is no I in team, right? We have all heard the saying, there's no I in team. Superstars and rule benders hurt the overall team performance. You might have a rock star guy, he's getting the work done, he's pounding it out, but guess what? He's coming in late, right? He's calling you with all kinds of complaints about the other guys, and he's basically turning into a rotten apple. Well, a rotten apple will spoil the bunch. You got to get that guy out quick. And I've done it to where I'm like, we got to hold on to this guy a little bit longer, and the whole team morale starts going down. And like literally, you see everything start going down. And then when you fire that guy, everybody's like, oh, thank you so much. And they don't tell you when he's still working there. I'm like, why didn't you tell me that earlier? Well, you know, I don't want to snitch or, you know, what all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, we got so much at stake here now. You know what I mean? Like, if one guy's doing something, he's not wearing his harnesses on a roof, we'll all be out of a job. Because if he falls, guess what? We get sued and we're out of business. If you're not strapping your ladders down on your ladders or on your ladder rack, and you go down, you get into a car accident, a ladder goes through a car and kills a family, guess what? Nobody's got a job. We all got to hold each other accountable. So these are the meetings I have with my team. And you got to tell them the stories. Like, you've heard all the stories online. You've heard a guy going up on a roof with actually it was a backpack sprayer, spraying roof cleaner on there. Well, guess what? He put acid in it earlier, and he blew himself up off the roof, blew a hole in the roof. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that happens. I call it closet chemistry. We don't do that stuff. You see an employee mixing stuff that's not labeled, that's a red flag. You know what I mean? Tell your supervisor. Because that guy blows his arm off, you know what I mean? You're not running on that truck, and plus, we got a lot of crap to deal with now. So we're all playing the same game. So you got to let them know about that. Working together as a unit starts at the ownership level. Okay? This is big. You guys got to be there. Like, I'm always, if I go pop inspect a job or something like that, you know, I'm watching them for a little bit, but then I'm like, dude, yo, hold on, let me get in here. You know what I mean? And then I'm soft washing, pressure washing, doing whatever. They're like, give me that bag. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can't just stand around. I got to be working. And so I always like to lead that way, lead by example. All right, but there is an owner. There is a manager. There is a captain. Team does not mean socialism. So teams mean a group of individuals working towards a common goal, okay? You still have to have the hierarchy, okay? They still got to report to somebody. So you got to set those things up in place. That way they know who to report to. You know, we have policies like if you had a spill, what's our spill contingency plan? That's all in every one of our trucks, in our SDS sheets. You know, we have a cheat sheet in there. We try to keep it systemized so they have all the tools to build a bigger, better house for that team. You got to give them those tools. and you're going to build an awesome team. But guess what? No team, no rest, right? We're wearing all the hats, okay? So build your team so you can experience freedom. You could be fine. You could be, freedom where you're going on vacation. Your guys are running. They're doing really good. It could be money, but freedom of owning your own business. Without a team, you just have a job, and that's the reality of it, guys. So, I want to inspire you. I want to change your mindset. I know Mike is going to do that this week. He's got an awesome, a couple days lined up for you guys. I really appreciate you guys having me speak. But yeah, humble yourself to gain entrepreneurial freedom. All right, appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, I'm here.
All right, guys. Dude, good stuff, man.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. All right. So you guys all got a Gutter Butter sticker. I didn't know he was going to be passing these out, but something I just thought of. And real quick. So legacy is like a family, right, guys? Like, that's how I built my business. A lot of stuff you were saying in here, I was like, man, it's what we did. Treated it as a family. And so one of the things I think would be cool is if you guys are going to buy oxidation removal products, this is your product, right? Like, we help support family businesses, right? And I was like, this is a legacy company. I don't know if everyone knows this, but this business was built for his kids, right? Like, I don't know if you want to say anything on that real quick. But.
Yeah. Me and my wife were going back, and I had my kids. I had my older son. He's 13 now. We were cleaning Ace Hardware, and I gave him the 8-gallon-a-minute machine. He's like, poof, he pushes that. He's like, whoa. I had to pull him down to the ground. Me and my wife were like, we wanted to teach them business. Young. We homeschool our kids. Are we perfect? No, by no means. But I was like, man, I want to give these something that I never had. I grew up in a trailer park. My dad was never in the picture. Went through foster care. My foster parents were awesome. But still, they when I got married, they were like, Pat, you'll never make enough money to support a family. And but you know what I mean? Like, that crushes you. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to prove these guys wrong. You know what I mean? So I fought hard and long. And I'm like, me and my wife were like, we have a barn. I bought a piece of property. I'm like, what can we do maybe up in the barn or whatever? And I was like, we need, people were coming to my training camps too, and they're like, what are you using on the gutters? And I was like, Gutter Butter. I've been using this for a while. And like, Gutter Butter, that's cool. And they're like, dude, that stuff works awesome. And I was like, we need to bring that to market. And I was like, okay, so how do we do it? Now I'm becoming an inventor, right? So went to my chemist. I'm like, dude, we need to make this like this. And I said, we need to add this. So he gave me a couple different things. We tested them out in my house, and I got the kids involved. I'm like, guys, we're testing it. We're becoming, an inventor. And so I got them involved, and it just, that's what it was about, was setting them up, because I'd never had that, and I want to see them grow. And it might be college fun. It might be starting their own business, but that's why we did this.
Yeah, so this is a legacy business for him, and I know, me personally, I can't build my business on my own either, and you've got a lot of stuff going on and stuff, so I'm just thinking, how can we help Pat get the word out for Gutter Butter and all of that? So if you guys are going to do oxidation removal or anything, buy some Gutter Butter. And if you do a project, give Gutter Butter a shout out on some of these groups.
Appreciate that.
Just say like, hey man, this is a legacy business, right? This is good stuff. If you guys need any,
I appreciate that, Mike.
or something. Anything we can do to help Pat, guys.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Awesome.
You got anything else? You ready to go? You ready to eat?
Yeah,
Everyone
ready to
hungry?
eat.